to the Guest Life Podcast, episode 70. Cannot believe we're here. There's beautiful sky out there. There's a sun behind those clouds. Me and Kirstin just drove in from Toronto. We didn't carpool. That's okay. It's Saturday morning, and I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for coming, Kirstin.
Thank you for having me.
So we have Kirstin Jensen, longtime friend of mine. I'm so fortunate to be able to speak with my friends and get to know them a little bit deeper. I can't wait for this one. But she's from the Ontario Home Builders Association. She's done a lot of different things there. I think anybody in the Home Builders Association has known Kirstin for years and years and years. But right now she's the Vice President of Policy, Advocacy, and Relationships at the Ontario level. And she's tons of wealth of knowledge from many different things, but she actually just served as Political Deputy Chief of Staff, Director of Policy, and Acting Chief of Staff for the Ontario Minister of Municipal Affairs, Housing, focusing on key areas such as planning, zoning, and development. I never read these because normally I think I can get it right without reading it, but these titles are big and exciting. And Kirstin was the one person that I could call in government that helped TradeSmart get to the finish line.
Yeah. I know. I can't believe that happened, actually. I'm so excited for that.
And it wouldn't happen without you.
Thank you.
So welcome. How's it going?
Good. Things are good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We start off everyone breaking the ice. What was your first paid job?
I was a soccer referee. I think
that hits.
Elementary school still. Yeah.
I did T-ball.
Oh God, it was so hard. It was so hard. I hated it. I'm not going to lie.
And it's from having to deal with the kids, but also it was the parents that were the problem, correct?
It was the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. The parents for
sure.
What
are they thinking?
They're all the same still. It's so bad.
What are you thinking?
I can't even, it was so nerve-wracking. I would go to these games and, being on the sideline was okay, but being in the middle and, even reffing peers that are your own age,
yeah.
You'd go to school the next day and they'd be like, oh, you could have done that better. It was horrible. It was horrible. I don't know why we put ourselves through that. And the parents, just no sense.
I can't believe it.
I mean, it taught me thick skin. It's good. I learned some stuff from it.
My dad used to, I never forget. So I was a big kid and I was playing hockey, and my dad wouldn't sit in the stands anymore because he would say, I always get the best seat in the house. So he'd do the penalty box, but you had to be on it, right? You had to watch the game. And I think in his penalty box career, he missed 2 stop times, right? He was on it.
Okay.
But he was I get the best seat in the house and I get to see Dan 2 or 3 times a game. In the penalty box.
That tracks, yeah.
So from soccer referee, what age was that?
I want to say 11, 12. You kind of get started in that kind of. Yeah, I think it was really early, early high school, if I'm not mistaken. You can do really little kids, 4 or 5 year olds.
And how long did you do that for?
I probably did it at 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Obviously you advance, and if you stick to it, you get like better paid games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would say at least 5 or 6 years I did it.
Yeah. Did you have was this a thing? Did you have a signature move?
I don't think I did, no.
Okay.
I was a very...
Maybe it's just a baseball, you're out!
Yeah, no, I think I was pretty timid, I'm not going to lie. That was a different time of my life.
Okay.
My confidence level was not what it was. So I don't think I had any kind of moves like that. I was just lucky to blow the whistle hard enough.
Okay, good. We got to start
It was hard. It was so hard.
Yeah, and that was St. Catharines?
Yeah, the Niagara-on-the-Lake area mostly. Awesome.
Well, I try for all the guests tuning in. I try not to get too personal because I know a little bit more than you guys are going to know. So, tell us about. We just talked about it off camera, but talk about your education sphere. So, soccer ref, rock star. Education was a big part of your entry level to career. Mm-hmm. You're the opposite of me. You like being in a classroom. You like learning.
Yes, I do. I love
I'm
learning.
an external learner. So, tell us about that.
So I went to Brock University for my undergrad.
Okay.
I started in sociology. I wanted to be a criminal lawyer. That was my path.
Wow.
I was all through high school, I'm going to be the next Elle Woods, if anyone knows Legally Blonde. That was my thing. And I wanted to be a criminal prosecution lawyer. Criminal prosecution lawyer. That was the path. So I went to Brock and I stayed home so that I could go to law school one day. Did sociology, focused in criminology, and then in first year I took some electives in political science, and I just loved it. Wow. Absolutely loved it. Had no idea that politics was a thing I loved, but so I switched second year, finished my degree with an undergrad in political science. I had the criminology background because it was still the path.
Yeah.
Went to a master's at McMaster in political science.
Okay.
I figured it would like amp up my law degree application, right? So I got a master's. It was a 1-year program. It was hard. It was difficult, but I loved McMaster. And so then I took a year off and was like, okay, what am I going to do now? How do I get into law school? And I did like the courses, like the LSAT prep, all those things.
Yep.
And then like one day I was just like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's too much school. Like you start at the bottom, like that's not where I want to be. So then actually, this is a pretty funny story. The way I ended up in planning school, I was at a bar in Toronto one night. Okay. I was out with some friends. It's a country bar. And I met this guy there and we were chatting and he said he was a planner. And I was like, well, what's a planner? Like, tell me about this. And he starts talking to me about what he does on a daily basis. And for context, when I was at McMaster, one of the things I was really focused on was like municipal politics and the way that municipalities and governments at the local level work. And so I saw some connections there as he's telling me about this. So the next day, I never spoke to him again. Couldn't tell you his name. Whatever. Next day, I go.
Very memorable.
Very memorable. I took what I needed from him. The next day, I'm on the train back to Niagara, and I look up the Ryerson School of Planning, and they've got a rolling admissions application process. So that night I applied to a master's of planning at Ryerson.
Oh, wow.
And I called my mom, and my mom is in the planning business. She works for the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake. My whole life she's been in the planning department.
And you didn't know what planning was?
I didn't know what she did. Like, and I tell her this openly. I had no idea what she did. I knew she did like mapping and GIS and like all these kind of like cool code things like zonings and stuff like that. But I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how you applied it. I had no idea. Called her and she's like, really? You're going into planning school? Kirstin, like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to planning school. She's like, you know, that's what I do, right? And I was like, I didn't. So anyways, I went to a master's of planning. It was 2 years. So now I have two master's degrees and they all connected to each other. Like it all made sense, but I took a very long route to get there.
From someone that has a master's in planning with no plan.
Yeah, literally, yes.
So for everybody listening, what is planning? Because we've heard of, is it urban planning? Is it
urban planning, city planning? There's a lot of different divisions of it.
Give us some Coles notes for anybody listening that doesn't understand.
So it's basically the way that you approach planning a city or a community or a town. It's all the pieces that go into where do the houses go? What kind of houses do you need? Where do the roads go? How do you work with the transportation departments? It's all about like getting an entire community built, I would say is a very basic level. But then there's like aspects of it that have to do with like policy. And that's what my bread and butter is. It's like, how do you high level plan the future of a community? Like what kind of houses do you need? Are you going to grow up? Are you going to grow out? Are the people that are going to live there going to need like low rise, or are they going to want more towers? And like, where do you put a soccer field? Where do you put a community center? Like it has to do with just the really connectedness of what goes into making a community a community. And like you can have a transportation planner, or you can have a development planner, which is, I think, the most well-known type of planning is development planning. It's like the whole application process. How do you get something built? I do policy planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Like, you know, anybody that's from the GTA, I mean, that's around our age, would like, I always think of Milton. Mm-hmm. And then being from Hamilton, I think Binbrook. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, well, Binbrook's just got a gas station, right? And it's a big deal, but it's like, where was it going to go? How's it going to be there? Yeah. And then the classic is like, oh, we have a Walmart. Or now it's like, oh, we have a Costco. It's like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, it takes years for that infrastructure, you know, and there's these people that are smarter than us, aka you, to understand like, well, the density is going to work with, you know, the businesses that are going to be supported there.
Yeah. And you've got small towns. Like I'm from Niagara-on-the-Lake. Like we're not growing up. Like learning from my mom and just the stuff that she had to think about when I was growing up. Like I remember when we got our first McDonald's and everyone was like, what? A McDonald's in Niagara-on-the-Lake? But then you had to approach it like, how do we make it fit into Niagara-on-the-Lake? Yes. Right? Like there's all these different cultural and heritage things that have to be maintained.
Wheelchair ramps for that one.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool though. It's very different. Like when you think about the different parts of Ontario that you have to think about different things.
So 2 masters, loves to get involved and learn more about what her mom does. How'd you get started with the Ontario Home Builders Association?
This is another good story. It actually has to do with one of your former guests, Charles Waugh. I was working... Chucky, yeah. I've never called him that. Okay. I was working at the City of St. Catharines as a planner, and I had done my thesis in planning school on this thing called new urbanism. It's a concept of how to master plan a city. And they had a conference in Savannah, Georgia. So I go there and I meet Charles Waugh, and we got along right away. Yeah, we met in Savannah, Georgia. Yeah.
Okay. And what was he doing there?
He was working with a planning firm that was really big into new urbanism, and they were trying to do a project together that replicated some of the main concepts and principles of new urbanism. And it's just, they do a really cool conference every year. They're all over the States.
Really?
Yeah. So he was there with his planning firm. They invited him. Yeah. It's super cool. I also met Andy, who he works really close with. Yeah. So they were there together, and we met there and became friends.
Wow.
Charles and I skipped a lot of the conference, went and watched soccer.
Yeah.
So then we got back, started talking, and he had some projects going on in St. Catharines. So we started talking more, and he told me about the West End Home Builders Association. And he's like, there's this role open, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And he's like, you've got to meet the CEO and like have a conversation with her. And I think this was 6 months later, I sat down with her and was hired as the manager of policy and planning, or planning and government relations, maybe something along those lines. And before this, I had no idea what an HBA was. I didn't know what a home builder association was, what they did, how you lobby, none of these things. So I started there, worked there for about a year and 3 months. And then someone from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing office reached out to me and said my name was put forward for a position in their policy team on the political side.
Wild.
This is becoming a long story, but all in all, I worked there for 3 years and kept in touch with people from the Ontario Home Builders Association.
Yep.
When I started my own business after I left the government, they were one of my clients, and it all kind of just like... It transitioned so well. They were my favorite client. I loved the work I was doing for them, super policy heavy. And they got a new CEO in April, and he sat down with me and said, like, we want to bring you on. Like, we want you in-house working on our team. We've created this position. We think you're the perfect fit for it. And it all kind of just like lined up. I wasn't loving the entrepreneurial life. So
let's just say, just to take a step back there again, for everybody listening, I know the story very well. I was very fortunate to be, a sounding board in some context. But so you were working at the OHBA. So for everybody that doesn't know what the OHBA is, because I didn't know, and for any local business entrepreneurs, it's an incredible organization. I'm going to inject this just because organizations that have, I would say, legacy, I always tell people, like, remember that you're in their home. So you're a guest in their home. I didn't know as a plumbing company that we could actually join the West End Home Builder Association. I was like, I'm not a home builder. I was like, yeah, we do some homes, but we don't do production homes, so there's no way. And I was so wrong. It's been a staple of us in our business to join such an organization, but also Kirstin was the one that, allowed it to make it feel like inclusive, which was really, really exciting. So anybody thinking about joining the OHBA, that's a little bit of a plug for them. Rockstar. You also get to meet awesome people like Kirstin. And then so you went to government, which is totally outside, just to make everybody clear. So she went from Ontario Home Builders Association to government, just so we're clear on that.
Yeah, the most political part you can probably get into without being an elected official.
Which we're very happy about because TradeSmart got approved because of all the relationships. But going down to, so tell me about how the relationships that you built, because you are so outgoing and, willing to help and care with everybody. You didn't even put forth your own application to get the job?
No. So I met someone from BELD, which is the Greater Toronto Area HBA. There was a time of transition that HBA was going through, and we were without a CEO at the time. And so I was handling a lot of the policy files, and she reached out to me. Her name's Paula. She's now become my mentor. One of my mentors. I have a couple of really amazing women that mentor me, but she reached out to me and just said, like, I'm going to put your name forward. I can tell that you have a lot of big ideas and could do more for the industry. So if you're interested, and I was like, I'm not ready to leave. And she's like, just have a conversation. And the chief of staff to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, I remember he called me, and it was my birthday. So I was on a golf course with my mom, which is what we do every year. And I was like, Mom, like the chief of staff to the minister is calling me. What is happening right now? And it was just like, we had one conversation, me and Paula, one conversation. And she was like, I got to put this girl's name forward. And I was like, that is the coolest thing. It's one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. It was like a 1 hour virtual coffee. And I now work very, very closely with her. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up there. And I've never been into like being political. There's a difference between like liking politics, but being political, being a staffer, like doing elections and stuff like that. That wasn't something I was ever really involved in. So it was a huge leap. It was a big decision. I asked a lot of people. Yeah.
And so just for context, when you left, it was because the position was no longer there. So you went out on your own, correct?
Yeah, we went through, I guess you would say, a period of transition at the ministry. There was some political things that happened that led to, I just felt it was my time. It was, I'd been there 3 years, and like political staffers don't stay in politics usually that long. It's, I would say on average 2 to 4-ish years. Okay. So I just felt it was time. We had a lot of people that were leaving and going to different ministries, and I just, time to go. And so, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had this like weird background of like a variety of different roles that I had held. Like I'd been a planner in a municipality. But I didn't like development planning. I liked policy planning, and you don't really have a lot of policy planning jobs that are just like outright, go be a policy planner. Yeah. So that's why government was so cool, because I got to have so much like influence and just opportunities to partake in writing policy at the highest level you can for the planning world. It was phenomenal. I loved my job. Absolutely loved it. But then I didn't know where I fit. I had no idea. Yeah. It was weird. It was a very out of control feeling for me. Yeah.
I remember talking to you about it. It was like, it's interesting to hear where the mind goes, right? And talking about like, did I want this? And
so some people called me and said like, we met you through government. We know that you could probably help our project. Like, have you ever thought about going on your own? And I was like, nope, absolutely not. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, even if I do this for like a transition period, a couple months, maybe a year or two, it's worth trying, right? Like I have people that want to work with me. I can forge a path. I know a lot of people who are entrepreneurs that I could ask for help. Yeah. So like, let's just do this. Let's see where it goes. And that's how I ended up on that path.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then from there, getting into the OHBA, how did that happen?
So I had a lot of great contacts with OHBA through my job at the ministry. Like we worked very closely with them. They were one of our biggest stakeholders. Wow. Really, really just a great association and build too. Like we talked to both of them so often. And I became a consultant with them, I would say February of 2024. Okay. I was just brought on to help with a little bit more of their advocacy, because they were kind of bare bones staff level at that point. They had no one really doing government relations or any kind of policy work. And a couple of people from the West End HBA actually put my name forward and just said, like, you should talk to her. She's on her own. This is what she does. She loves it. She knows how to speak to politicians and all the other types of stakeholders you interact with. And the interim CEO reached out and we met for the first time, and he was like, this makes sense. Come be our consultant. Wow. So I signed on for a 6-month contract. And then in the midst of that, they hired a new CEO full time, and we got to know each other. And I guess some of the board members had said, like, you got to get her on. She's got to be with OHBA. Like, we can't have her as a consultant. Like, figure out how to get her on. It was the president at the time. I remember he pulled me aside at something and was like, we're going to hire you. Like, we're going to figure out a way to get you on our team. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready. Like, I just started consulting. And he's like, no, it's going to happen. Yeah. And then, Amazing. It was, I think, April or May, I started the conversations with the now CEO, who I work super closely with. And he offered me this role of VP, and it was brand new. They'd never had it before. Yeah. Didn't know they needed it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's do this.
Such a cool story. Yeah. And I think, for anybody listening, just an incredible, like, you can make an impact at every level wherever you are doing, good work and trying and being out there. But also, it's interesting coming from obviously knowing Kirstin for so long, but also she's at every event. She's at every event, she's everywhere, and she talks and knows everybody. And I think the reason for that is because people want to talk to you. And I think that's so special when it comes to like building your reputation of somebody that people can talk to, ask for advice. Yeah. But also, you become valuable and valued. So it's really cool. Thank you. We talk about time management. With everything that you do, starting a new position, creating a new role, leading a team, how do you manage your time?
Not well. Not well.
How do you do it?
Oh, it's all about, okay, I'm going to say it's all about balance, which is so cliche, but like honestly, so I play a lot of sports, right? And one of the things that is so important to me is no matter what my work is taking for me or how much like events I have to go to, I always make time for soccer because that is like my like safe space. Okay. So as long as I'm always making sure that I've got time in my life, and like summer golf too, soccer and golf, they are like my activities that I must prioritize to just have some like mental balance. Totally. Yes, it's tiring sometimes to have so much on the go, but like as long as I've got like activity, sports, workouts, whatever, I like to just make sure that that's the place where I'm like decompressing, I guess you would say. It is hard to balance everything. Like I'm also just, we've got a lot of events like you said, and it's just like a matter of, I'm very bad at this, but saying no. Yep. There is times like a couple of weeks ago, I had a bunch of girlfriends that were getting together and I was just so tired. And I was like, I'm not doing well enough to be able to drive to Hamilton and see you. Yep. And they were like, their responses were like, we're proud of you for saying no. And like, it's just, it's tough. It's so tough. Like I love to say yes to everything. I love to go to all the things like.
And even they noticed it, eh?
Yeah. It's easy to get worn out, especially in this industry, like especially with all the different events and stuff. And I love to be around my friends, my family, and just making sure that I'm like being conscious. I think it's conscientiousness of like, how are you feeling? Yep. And if you go do this, what is that going to do to the rest of your week?
Totally. Yeah. Being intentional.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. And for anybody listening, like, you know, understanding when you're at an event too, you know, you do this without thought, but what is the goal of the event? Is the goal of the event to say that you went? Is the goal of the event to make an impact? Is the goal of the event, you know, we talked about public speaking. Kirstin's an incredible public speaker, you know, coming from someone that like you weren't. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Not saying you just, you know, came out of the womb and you just, you know, combat a crowd, but like, what am I doing here and why? And, you know, being like almost infectious when you get to those stages, and it's like, okay, like how do I make an impact? You know, it's not, I'm going to head down, go to the coffee, I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to head down, go to the thing. It's like, no, I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to be memorable. And I think that's, for anybody listening, like a really good way to climb your way to being important, being wanted, being heard.
It's hard too, though. It is hard. It's hard to walk into an event, especially a new event, new group of people, and just like put yourself out there. Yeah. I mean, the more you go, it's kind of like public speaking. The more you do it, the more you go to events, the more you just like talk to people. Yeah. It comes more naturally the next time you go do it. But like, it's not easy. How
hard is it for you to, I used to be super, super bad at leaving a conversation.
Yep, can confirm. I'm also very bad at that.
So the one thing about the builders associations, most conversations you get into are pretty good. You don't need to leave them. Yeah. But at the chamber level, some of them, sometimes when you're dealing with like, you know, a home massage therapist that like he just keeps talking about, you know, needling or something for 45 minutes when you're trying to meet other people, it'd be really hard to like leave that conversation. Yeah. It's like, how do you manage the room? I think one of the cool things about the events that we go to, and even when I was in government, like there's always people around that want to meet other people. So I always try to bring other people into conversations. So you can leave? Well, maybe sometimes. No, but like, I also think people are there to meet other people. People are there to hear what other people are doing, but like, they probably have a similar mindset. Like, it's hard. How do I go approach that person? And so if I can like bring somebody that I know who's walking by into a conversation that I think might be good with the person I'm talking to, I try to do that. Like, I'm very conscientious of what's going on around me and who I can pull into a conversation together. And maybe sometimes it's so I can leave the conversation, but you know, at some point in time, it might be beneficial for both of them as well. For sure. Yeah, no. And I think it's really, it's just like, it's a talent that I never, or a skill, that I never would have thought I would have needed or like needed to create, right? Until you get into it. It's like, oh, I gotta learn how to do this, especially from being an event, you know, person that you're in and out on. You know, looking at the Home Builders Association, what are some of the challenges you see right now? Especially like, we didn't even talk about it, but like they created a new role for you. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what is, like, especially with entrepreneurship, it's like, well, you're creating your own path. Like, what does this mean? And a lot of people, I'm sure for you, are just like, she'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. How is that? What are the challenges that you're facing currently? So one of the things that I will say about the OHBA is it went through years of transition the last couple of years, kind of like rebuilding itself as
as the key provincial advocacy body on behalf of the home builder industry, Build is extremely good at this. They're very, very connected, very strong. They have a huge membership.
Yeah.
And like there are members too, but like when it came to the conversations and who's at the table, I don't think like OHBA kind of like, I don't want to say disappear, but they just weren't as strong for a couple of years as they should have been. And so we've really been trying to reestablish ourselves as like a key player, key part of the conversations, a key stakeholder that the government wants to turn to and be part of those conversations with our other home builder associations. Like West End is at the table a lot, Build's at the table, London, Ottawa. And so us being the glue is a big part of like what I've been trying to do.
Okay.
But I think the other part of it is like the home building industry right now it's a mess. It's so difficult. Everyone is struggling. Government is, God, I don't even know the right way to say it. Like government is just all over the place. And there's so many struggles that all of our members are having, like renovators, builders, all those kind of things. And so it's kind of trying to like bring all those together. And how do you advocate for that? How do you bring that to the government? And it's volatile, I would say.
Volatile, yeah, it's a good word. Yeah, like I hate the word from COVID is uncertainty. Like I just hate it.
Yeah.
Because like, everything's uncertain, right? There's very little certainty in life except that we're all going to die. But it's like, going through that journey, how have you found, like, where's your lane? How do you feel? How do you get excited?
That's a great question. I am excited by the fact that like there is a path forward, like from a career perspective, from like the home builder industry for us to like make a difference.
I love it.
It's pretty cool because we are having like really good conversations right now with the government, and I was on that side. So it's really neat to be on the other side of it now and using that experience to advocate for our members. Yeah. Like I can't say we're going to solve the housing crisis. We're trying.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're part of the conversations now, I think is like it's a motivator. It's like, how do we do more? Who do we have to talk to next? What are our biggest policy priorities that like we know our members are going to get something out of? And like, how do we show our value? And so like that, I love a challenge. So that's a motivator for me, is like all these people in our industry are calling me, telling me like, we're struggling with A, B, C. And we're like, okay, how do I put this into a path forward and make a change? And like obviously now I'm not on the government side, so making a change is way different. It's a lot harder, but it's a challenge and it's like a motivator.
I love it.
Yeah.
We always say, and you guys can hashtag this, but your biggest challenge is always your biggest opportunity if solved. So it's like, once you kind of get there, but I think it's like, I love how much you take on from a broad perspective as a person. And it's like, thinking about like changing the home building industry for the province of Ontario. It's like, these positions do exist. And like, I think, again, learning about, I'll never forget the time I accidentally signed up for the conference in Niagara, like not knowing what it was. And everyone was, I remember you were like, oh, you're here. Like, why? It's like, I did not know the relationship with the Builders Association and the government and like how much impact everybody has at like, it's not just, you see this side from a marketing perspective, like these home builders making all this money. It's like, holy shit. Like, no, this home builder is taking all this risk.
Correct.
Buying land, investing in the future of our industry, of our communities, of our land. And then, learning about, like, I didn't know what a planner was. I remember Caitlin Gillis. Obviously we know Caitlin, but I've known since a kid. I remember she worked for Terry, who's owns an urban planning or a planning company. And I find it's like very fascinating to see so much comes and has to be done in the background for you to live. And we just don't think about it. And it's that like unconscious ignorance that we just, if you don't know, you don't know. But it's a really cool industry to explore. Yeah.
100%. And there's so many facets of it. Yeah. I think that's the coolest part, is like, you should be at those conferences. Like, that's great. You're meeting people, you're learning about how government and our industry interact. Like, it's every single part of the industry should go to those types of things. Yeah. We hold it every year in September. Plug that in.
I'll be there. Okay. So what advice, we always ask this, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I have two, if I can.
You can.
I have two different phases of life. Okay. If I was in high school, my teen years, I would have I would definitely tell my younger self, like, don't make a plan. Like, have a plan, but like, your plan's not your plan.
Oh,
Everything
I
can
love
change.
that.
You can always go back to school. You can always change your mind. You can always learn something new, and that can change your path in an instant. Like, I still want to go to law school. You can still go back to school, right? Have a plan, but don't think your plan's set in stone. Like, if I had told myself in high school that I was going to be like 35, a VP at this company, single, living in Toronto, I would have been like, no way. But I love my life.
Yeah.
I'm like so happy. It's great.
Yeah.
So like, I don't like to over plan anymore. I like to just see where things take you. I know the irony. The other part I would say is to my like 20-year-old self, just like slow down and take stock of the good people you have in your life.
Amazing.
I have this like quote on my wall. It's my favorite quote. And it's just, you don't meet people by accident. They're meant to cross your path for a reason. And I really value the people that I meet, like through my life, through my job, through my sports, and just like the impact that each person can have on you. And I feel like you rush through things through your 20s. You're just like, I got to get there. And you don't like take stock of the fact that like you have really good people beside you, and like, how do you keep them beside you?
Yeah.
And to just like slow down and prioritize those people. Like, those relationships are what get you through all of your successes. Like, you're only as successful as the people around you that are helping you celebrate your successes.
Love it.
Yeah. So, because I feel like I spent a lot of my 20s just like trying to get to the next thing. And like, it's great to be ambitious, but like, you also just have to slow down. And a really, really good friend of mine that I lost recently always used to call me, and she would say, are you taking time for yourself?
Yeah.
What are you doing like for yourself? Like, slow down, stop working so hard.
Yeah.
And like, it sticks with you.
That's so interesting. I love that. Absolutely love it. My dad said the same thing to me. He'd be like, yeah, cool about the business. He goes, where are you going with your buddies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for everybody in your 20s, it's just, it can be an overwhelm, and that's what it is. And it's like, just like you said, you need those people to call you and check on you and see what's going on.
Yeah. And I don't think you realize the impact of like those 5-minute conversations.
Yeah.
Just like how much they like stick with you.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So for anybody listening, call your friends.
Yeah.
See how they're doing. You can always be the person to check in.
Dan's always that person, I will say. I appreciate that so much about you.
Yeah, it's, and I find finding the unique in everyone is like I have a lot of people now that I find they're much busier in life than I am, even though some people might challenge that. They'll be like, man, you just call all the time. It's like, man, it's because it's my unique ability. It's like, that's not you. It's like, you have a me. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be me. Mm-hmm. I'm me. You're you. And I think it's very special to be able to, connect with people that are like-minded, but also, a lot of my friends aren't talkers.
I'm sure you do enough of that for them.
Yeah, they love it, right? They can just listen or tune me out, whatever they want to do. But, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, you'll see all the links to Kirstin and what she does and the associations. If you own a business in the Hamilton, GTA, or Ontario, anything to do with home building, whether you're a mortgage broker, realtor, tradesperson, banker, it doesn't matter. You can join these great associations across the province. You do make an impact. You will meet some great people. Do not bring too many business cards to these events. It's annoying. But make really good connections. So, Kirstin, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was great.